right? That's why it's a gift. It's what we've been given. We're in it. People, I have to tell you that there's been times when I didn't know how to convey information I was given. I always look it up on the internet to try to figure things out, but I'm shown things. I got to tell you, this is my understanding of this. This is for the eyes that can see and the ears that can hear. If you don't understand what I'm fixing to read to you, I'll show you where you can find it. You could read for yourself. The more times you read it, the more times it will make sense. But this is a knowing, and I was shown to look this up, and that's why on my last live I was like, I'm saying Z is for Zechariah. I'll get into this and you'll understand, or you'll have to do more research. But the Bible prophecies absolutely do happen. They happen multiple times. Okay? It is a book to be read forever. A battle can happen in the same way that God had a man holding his hands up and everybody on the battlefield for Israel was winning. And then as his arms got tired and his hands went down, they started to lose the battle, and his sons realized this, and they went and helped him hold his hands up. Said, hey, if that's what's doing it, we got to help him. God has his own way of choosing who wins a battle. I'm not going to say that Ukraine is going to win this battle, but their children will be given the blessings and all of the things they could imagine. This is what I know. And it's written, it is written, it is written. So I'm just going to tell you some things here. And they may not make sense to you right now, but you can look them up. Or open up Zechariah and you can follow along. However you want to do it. I'm telling you it's in the Bible. I'm telling you it's written. And I was told to look at this. And if, first off, the devil, Satan, which the word means adversary. Like when Christ said, get thee behind me, Satan, to his own follower, he didn't think he was filled with the spirit of Satan. That word is Greek for, and further back, it means adversary. Okay? The adversary to peace is Satan. Right now, Putin is playing that role. He is an adversary to peace. He has become an adversary. The word for adversary is Satan. So the angel, if you call him the bright and morning star or Beelzebub, the angel that is the devil, Satan himself was not a good general. If he was a good general, he would have won the war in heaven. He was kicked out. Anyone who follows Satan will not be a good general. So from the start, Putin is not a good general. What he is a lawyer. Would you call a lawyer if you wanted a general? I don't think so. So start from there and then understand that he lied to his neighbors. Okay? He lied to his people. Okay? And he's not even telling his soldiers they're going to war. He's telling them they're on exercises. And he has got in his mind, this is what I'm shown, is that there's about 89,000 that he can afford to lose before such time as he believes that it would be too costly. He's willing to kill unnecessarily 89,000 of his own people by sending them as the charge of the heavy brigade right into cannon fire as cannon fodder. He's willing to do this. So people understand what I'm saying. He has become Satan. And Satan is not a good general. It's written in Zechariah. The whole thing is something that another person was shown. 2,000 years ago of what would happen. And it was written as a parable so that it pertains to not just one location and time, but other battles. I was shown that it pertains to this one. And the devil, even though he's a liar, has to be honest to a point. They almost call it a gentleman's honesty in war, where they say at some point they have to at least say publicly, yes, we're doing this and this is going to kill people, or yes, we are here. At first he didn't want to admit that he had mercenaries in Syria. 500 mercs died. Then he didn't want to admit that he had mercenaries in Ukraine. Okay? Now, where are we at today? He's got a whole army and he's trying to say he's doing exercises. Oh, these are just military exercises. Now he's got a special exercise. Okay, let's go with that. So now there's an 18-mile long column of tanks. Okay? So before I get into the biblical stuff, I'll go off on this little jut right here. He's got an 18-mile long, I'm calling it a parade. Because he said a long time back when we had a parade in Washington, he said he was laughing and saying, look at, that's just a few rusty tanks. And was talking about our tanks having some rust spots on them. Those are used vehicles. It was good. It's for kids. It's for people to watch. I dig it. It was a little parade in Washington, right? Oh, but he's like, well, if you want to have a parade, I can show you how to do a parade, right? Okay, so he wants, well, guess what? He's showing us how to have a parade because he's definitely not showing us how to fight a war. I can tell you that Satan is no general. He has become Satan, and he is no general. So, here's the thing. He's got a parade, a special parade. These people that he's sending in live nowhere near Moscow. They're all of them are out on the fringes, and they're even asking them, hey, where's your family from? Where are you from? When they capture the ones that are still left living. He's on purpose. The charge of the heavy brigade, like I said it would be, sending these kids, these 18-year-old kids, they're not hardened soldiers. He's sending them to their death. Because he knows that about 89,000 of them, then they'll start having some of them die from Moscow, and then people in Moscow will know there's a war going on and say, wait a minute, you told us that they were just going off for exercises. Those are our family members. Well, he's fixing to be looking at his generals ready to cap him, ready to take him out. Even Hannity talked about it. I talked about it before Hannity did, so I beat him to the punch. I was saying, hey, Russia knows what Russia has to do. But I just now watched it. It was 17 hours ago. Okay. And what he was talking about, he showed a little girl that got hit by a bomb. They're using cluster bombs now. So here's where I'm at on this. How do you take out an 18-mile long brigade of tanks? You know, a convoy of tanks. You hit the one in the front, you hit some in the middle, you hit them in the back, and you blow them to kingdom come. That's how you do it. Who is not doing this? So, either there's a backdoor deal going on right now for peace, and that's great. There's no, I'm not against the people in the Russian army that are being lied to right now. I'm against what's going on where innocent civilians are being killed, where now they're being ordered. They even took the cell phone of one of the guys that was on, a Russian soldier that was killed. They took his cell phone and looked at his text to his mom saying, I'm gonna send you a package. And she's like, what are you doing talking about a package? He says, look, I'm no longer there. We're not doing exercises. I'm down here in Ukraine, and there's a real war going on. They didn't even know. None of them are being told it's a war. They're being lied to and pushed to the front. Cannon fodder. So they will continue to die. It is the charge of the heavy brigade, and the whole world knows it, and the whole world's sitting back watching going, these guys don't even know, and they're going right into the slaughter, like lambs to the slaughter. Well, it needs to be stopped before it gets so far that they're taking out buildings with the old people that are still left in Ukraine, and those people dying and more children dying. They need to do a bombing run on that brigade. Now, so where am I at on this? I'll tell you, whatever country you're in, take a look at your jet fighter. Take a look at how many armaments it carries. Take a look at what missiles would take out a tank, and ask yourself this question: how do you take out an armored column? Well, if you're French, you use your airplane and your arm to load it out like this. That's what you would do. You need to prepare for this, because the minute that Russia starts really using air superiority, and the minute that the EU gets together and says, NATO gets together and says, okay, yeah, we really need to stop this now, it will be a dogfight, and then it will be also, how do you take out the column? So if you really want to stop this war and really want Ukraine to win, send them warthogs. That's where I'm at on that. Ukraine needs every MiG fighter that ever MiG'd, period. From across the world, send them your MiGs. That's what they're used to flying. And then give them a crash course in the A-10 Warthog. Go ahead and give them the super one too. Give them as many as you can, because any idiot, don't take this wrong, I'm not calling them idiots, but any idiot can be taught how to fly A-10 Warthog. And we're talking, yes, they do have electronic warfare that can take out planes, but the Warthog can take a bunch of bullets too. You can look at them, look at what their track record's been and where they've been hit, and come back with all these holes in them. Listen, the best thing for Ukraine right now is a bunch of Warthogs and a bunch of MiGs. They need an air force, and they need to take out that column of tanks to stop them. If they don't turn around and go back to Russia, and if somebody doesn't take out Putin in the meantime. This is where I'm at. I didn't see when it's going to happen. I just saw it, but hey, Hannity's talking about it, so there's that. You know what I mean? They're comparing him to Hitler at this point because it's just expansionism. There's no threat there. Those are his neighbors. They're lying to the people in the column. They're lying to the people in the tanks. They're lying to the foot soldiers. They're lying to everybody in the Russian army, saying when you go to Ukraine, they're going to welcome you with open arms. They're your brothers. And they're going there and they're getting a lead reception. So this armored column, 18 miles long, is a death parade. That's all it is. So Putin said he'd show us how to have a parade. I think he is. I think he's showing us how to have a parade. I appreciate the 2 likes and nobody in the room. Nobody in the room, right? Google, give me my numbers. Get off that. Probably hundreds. Listen, people, I'm being honest here, and I'm telling you what's going on and what's popping. Now, I'm going to tell you, you can get out your Bible and look up Zechariah. Okay? Yeah, Tiwi, I appreciate that. Yeah. Oh, there's some people here. There's a bunch of people here. I feel it. I sense it. I know it. And there's going to be more. And this is going to hit to the heart of everything. Now, hear what I'm saying. Okay, people? This is all true, or I would not tell you so. If this were not true, I would not tell you so. I was moved to understand that no matter what Russia wants to use it for, understand the United States Army, in order so there wouldn't be friendly fire, put triangles and different symbols on our tanks. Russia putting this Z, let me explain. The devil will have to mark what he's done, because he knows he's going to have to account for it. Whether they use that Z for one thing or another, Z is for Zechariah. Now let me tell you, right now there are 4 carpenters that are helping Ukraine. These are the 4 main nations helping Ukraine. These will be known furthermore as the carpenters. I'll get into a different video on who I believe the 4 carpenters are. They're going to stop it. They're the ones helping to stop it. Now, for the people in Ukraine, I'm going to say this, and you can find this in Zechariah 2. Fear not, let your hands be strong. The world will take hold of the shirt of the Jew and say, I will go with you. Now I'm going to tell you something. The leader of Ukraine is of Jewish descent. God is going to protect him like he protected. It says in Zechariah also that he will protect those who are lame and hurt and all the others as if he protected David. Now I'm going to go further, because it also says that there are these chariots that are carrying horses. This is what God wanted. The dark and the white horses go to the north. Those dark and white horses go to the north to quiet God's spirit. That is their job. So what do you think happens when you take dark, when man takes dark and white horses from the north to the south and creates death with them? I can tell you, they are bringing anger to their brother, okay? And their land will be laid desolate for it. But they are making God's spirit stir up with anger. This is what I was shown, is God's spirit is stirred up with anger for this. Then the gristled horses are in the south. This is Ukraine. Ukraine is the gristled horses. Now, not by might and not by power. Okay? Not by might and not by power, but by my will, saith the Lord of hosts. God says that army's not going to win, even though it has might. It may take the day, but it will be the next generation of Ukraine, the remnant, that will be given things, everything. They moved to Poland. They'll be back. I'm going to go further. And this is, by the way, the charge of the heavy brigade, just like I talked about a while back. This is none of them are from Moscow, by the way. They're all from suburbs, so that word won't get back to Moscow that there's a war going on. This is not by accident. Russia is lying to its neighbor and slaughtering its own sheep. And they say, "Blessed is the Lord, for I am rich." That's the oligarchs, and that's Putin himself. God will give him unto his neighbor. 3 shepherds will be cut off in 1 month. Okay? You'll see what happens to the people of Russia. And all the world will be against them. Does anybody argue that the world right now is all against the leadership of Russia? Not the Russian people, but the leadership. And all of the world will be against them. This is in Zechariah, just like the symbol that he put on his tanks. Of the 3 pieces of Ukraine, 2 will be kept separate and 1 will be blessed in the seed of the next generation. I'm saying Ukraine. You can look it up and see what it says. And here's what has happened and why Russia can't move. The Russian horse has been confounded in their siege. His God will smite every horse with astonishment and his rider with blindness. Those troops don't know where they're going. They're out of fuel. They are confused and confounded, and God calls this. I hope you understand this, people. For the people with the ears that can hear and the eyes that can see, you will. If not, read it in Zechariah until you understand it. I'll read it again. The Russian horse has been confounded in their siege, because God smote every horse with astonishment. Okay? The tanks are smote out of fuel. And his rider with blindness. The drivers don't know where they're going. People are coming up and say, "Hey, are you lost? Hey, did you know that you're going? Where are you going?" "I don't know. I'm out of fuel." "You know that everybody's going to Kiev, right? Or Kyiv?" "No, I didn't know that." "Yeah, well, how's the war going then? If we're at war?" "Oh, well, pretty much all you guys are surrendering." That's what the guy told him in a car. The guy was from Ukraine. They both spoke Russian. He knew. And the soldier didn't fight him, even though he's from Ukraine. Why? He didn't even know that he was supposed to be fighting him. They're in a war that they don't even know they're supposed to be fighting. It's not just the generals. I'll read this again. In case you are following along in Zechariah, you'll find it. I think it starts at Zechariah 4. You'll see it. God will smite every horse with astonishment and his rider with blindness. They're blind to the battle. They're ripe for the picking. That's how you take out a column, is you take it out when it's out of fuel and when it's sitting there. So I don't know why Europe's sitting on its hands, but I can guarantee you as soon as Ukraine sees a reason to take air superiority and sees a reason that, okay, they're using air against us, we should have the right to fly across into their territory, that's going to happen. And it'll be a death parade of the heavy brigade. So God in that day will defend them, talking about Ukraine. And the lame will be defended like David. Smite the shepherd, and the sheep shall be scattered. In other words, if something happens to Putin, the rest of them will just stop this mess. 1/3 will be saved. God will cause the remnant to possess all things, and they will be saved. This is paraphrasing. This is my paraphrasing. You can read it verbatim in Zechariah. Zechariah itself is a prophecy. I was shown this. I didn't even know. I've never read it before in my life. So I'm reading now what I paraphrased out of it, what was important, what I was shown. At the evening time, there will be light. Then there will be a plague. In other words, almost like an explosion of nuclear size, because it will light up everything. Then there will be a plague of the horse and the camel and the mule and the ass, and they will keep the Feast of Tabernacles. The Feast of Tabernacles, just so you know, a tabernacle is a sukkot. Okay? A sukkot is a open front. I'll tell you, if you want to know what a sukkot looks like, I did a video and I built one, and I was in it working for 7 days for that reason. And I built a garden that was not for me, but for others. So if you look up my garden, that video, that is a sukkot. And I put on the roof plexiglass roofing that was from Israel, and I said a prayer, and I was saying too, though, even after that, I was saying hopefully that this virus will pass over. Evidently it did, because we're still here, a lot of us. So I was saying I built a sukkot. I worked in it 7 days. That's what I was doing. And I built a garden that was not for me. This is what I did. You look at a man's hands and what he does, and you'll understand. So look up Sukkot and learn about the Feast of Tabernacles. A tabernacle is a Sukkot. So it's an open front building that is a booth. It's a booth. But people lived in those booths when they had left out of bondage from Egypt, when they were following the pillar of fire that was in the middle, and the cloud by the daytime and the pillar of fire by night that was in the middle of the Holy of Holies where the Ark of the Covenant was. And the people followed. When it moved, they moved with it. When it stayed, they stayed with it. And they stayed in Sukkots. Their houses were Sukkots, booths, open-faced booths, like a manger, like Christ was born in. People now who are Jewish put them out, and for 7 days they stay in them. I worked in mine, and I made the fruit go back to the ground. I did it for 7 days. I did what I was told. I built a Sukkot. So this is what they're talking about. Okay? The Feast of Tabernacles is the Feast of the Sukkots. A tabernacle is a Sukkot. So 1/3 will be saved, and God will cause the remnant to possess all things, and they will be saved. That's what's going to happen with Ukraine. 1/3 will be saved. They've already lost a lot of people on the side as far as Donbass area. You know, you're talking about Crimea and that area. So that's the side, I would say 1/3. At evening time there will be light, like I said, and there will be a plague of the horse and the camel and the mule and the ass, and they will keep the Feast of Tabernacles, which means they will still pray. The Feast of Tabernacles is a certain time, but they will still pray. And their children are praying right now, and God's hearing their prayers, and they're praying right now in Poland for Ukraine. The whole world's praying for Ukraine. Russia has a population decline problem, in case you don't know. That's why they have to do this now. That's why the other day when the president of Ukraine got up and said, look, we're having babies even in our bunkers, so of course we're going to win. If we're going to, if we're having babies here, we're going to win. It's because there's a second generation. Russia is using its young men and killing them like cannon fodder, and they also have a decline problem, and they're not having children. Their population's been in decline. They cannot have a war that would be long. That's why, this is exactly why Hitler was having people have Hitler Youth and have these babies of Hitler and all this stuff. Russia can't do that. Russia's not going to command its people to have kids. They can't afford them. Right now they have no money. This will be a short-lived event because they're broke. So I'm going to go further. And while Ukraine is having babies even in the midst of war in the bunkers, that's what he meant by this. And no oppressor will pass by Ukraine anymore after this. So that is in Zechariah. You can read it. That is the prophecy that I was shown, and I didn't write it. I just read it. But I was shown it. And the Z on the back of those tanks is fitting. They need to put a Z on every single one of them. And you will see that's the charge of the heavy brigade I spoke about a while back. So God bless you, people. This is what I have. I wanted to do a proper live and show some things. I will get there. I will have time. I've just been running, and then it's like, okay, now you got time to shower and shut down, and now you know, barely enough time in my world for what I'm doing. But I had to bring this. I was moved to bring this to you. And so for the people in Ukraine, it's going to be rough. There will be a surge. Obviously, once they rally their troops, there'll be a surge. Once they get fuel. Right now, what I would be doing is I'd be sending warthogs to Ukraine for $1 a piece, or whatever kind of a deal we need to make to get them to pay us later. And then, and Shell Oil has left Russia. A lot of companies have left. They know what's up. They know. But I would be sending them warthogs. And also MiGs to cover for them. But, you know, one warthog can take out however many, you know, 10, 15 tanks, you know what I'm saying? So seriously, and they're in a column, they're right in a row, like ducks in a row. Seriously, while they are blinded and while they are confounded and they don't know what they're doing, unless there's some kind of a backdoor deal that's stopping them from movement, hear what I'm saying, people? They start moving, they're ripe for cannon fire. They're asking for it. At that point, I think Ukraine doesn't need to worry about crossing over Russia's border. Russia's already crossed their border. There are no borders anymore. Somebody's got to give them the permission and the go-ahead to go do a bombing run, strafing run. And like I said, any idiot can be shown how to fly a warthog, and they take a lot of fire. I think that's the proper armament for it. But hey, if France wants to go in there, and if Britain wants to go in there, if any of them want to join in when they go to do this, maybe they should take their, you know, air superiority, you know, lessons that they've learned and go and take out that whole column. That will stop it. That will stop it. They already took out their own bridges, and actually they had a Ukrainian Marine, while he was on the bridge, take out a bridge. I don't know that he died in that. I don't know. They said he was a Ukrainian Marine. This is what I know. I don't know if he sacrifices himself for that. I'll have to look that up. Either way, it was double tough. Standing on the bridge, let's take the bridge out, that's double tough. They should have took out that bridge from Ukraine that goes into Russia while those tanks were on the train before they were moving them. But Russia was lying, saying, oh, we're just doing exercises. I'd have known I knew what was going on. I had a knowing, but not everybody was going to listen to me. And maybe now they're listening to their gut and saying, wait a minute, this is real, this is actual. We need to start really talking to our generals and asking them the plans, and be ready at a moment's notice to implement those plans. And that goes for every country out there. They need to be ready to implement the war plans to stop those tanks from invading, to stop everything now. That's the only way it's going to happen. So 75% of Russian army is involved in this mess, and 90% of those don't know where they're going, what they're doing, and they don't have fuel. So definitely plan on hitting their fuel supply. You got to take out their supply line. That's what you do. So plan on taking out their supply line, plan on taking out the fuel trucks before they fuel the tanks, and then take out the tanks. It's simple. A, B, C, and D is the death day. That's it. That's it. I would not be waiting. They've had enough time sitting over on the border to plan and to maneuver and to invade Ukraine. You've given them enough time. Don't give them another minute to become stronger to attack Ukraine. Take them out. That's where I'm at. So someone has to have the legal right to fly across the border and take out that convoy. Take out that armored column. Somebody. Don't know who. Somebody. Unless there's a backdoor deal with the generals on the ground, and that's why I hadn't moved, and who knows. But I think they're pretty much waiting on fuel. They used up all their fuel in maneuvers. They're waiting on more fuel trucks. They're going to fuel up, and they're just going to waltz right in. And they're going to kill more babies and more civilians. Because if they hit a building, that's who's going to die. And there's still people in those buildings, and everybody has not left Ukraine. A lot of people couldn't. They're too old. There's 100-year-old people that are there. Some are lying on the floor and don't know what to do because they're like, right here, is my place, and I can't move. I'm too old. All the men are there. It'll happen. So people, this is all I got for you. Read Zechariah if you don't believe me, or you can listen to it. I'll put a link up to. I'll find a video that speaks Zechariah on YouTube. I try to keep everything on YouTube. I'll find one on here. If I can, I'll find it on the internet and send a link. And I'm gonna put up the name of this video, the real name of this video, in the comments, and I'll make it tonight as a comment, because it'd be a lot longer than this. It'll include Russia's death parade, charge of the heavy brigade. There's a lot that I covered here. You can't put all that as a video name. So people, God bless you. That's all I got. This has already been done before. It's already been prophesied about. It's going to be rough for the people of Russia for a little bit till things get sorted out. I think that the people who are in the upper most parts of the Kremlin are the only ones who can save their military and their people and their country. They're the only ones. And Satan is not a good general, obviously. So we won't call this anything but the parade of death of the heavy brigade, and we won't call it a war. But at some point somebody's got to call it a war. When there's people that are being interrogated on why they're in Russia and what happened, and they're saying, we don't know, we thought we were doing exercises, and then all of a sudden we were told to come here. And then a lot of them die and the whole column blows up. And just like I said, and I don't know how to bring it to the world. I really don't. I didn't know how to bring it to the world what I was shown before about them surrendering, and I don't know, they made me come here and I don't want to have war, and getting them all track suits and have them play Red Rover and come over to this side. I don't know about and defect. I don't know how to tell it to the world. I try in my own way. I don't think I'm gonna make much difference on the battlefield. I don't know who all's listening to this. I do know this. If there's any generals that can stand up and say, hey, I have clout here and I can actually make things happen, make a plan, because you're going to need it. That brigade, all of them, all the tanks, they need to be taken out. They need to be bottlenecked and taken out before they get into Ukraine. Because once they get into Ukraine, they're going to cause death and destruction on a level that has not been seen before. Forget about nuclear. You put a bunch of fueled up armored rounds in a tank and set them loose. It's not good. So yeah, a lot of them be taken out before that happens, but some may cross over, and that in itself is bad. I think that they need another air base in a different country from which to fly from. They need all the MiGs that ever MiG'd. They need all the Warthogs, A-10s that ever A-10'd. Get them A-11s, get them A-12s, whatever. It's not like they're going to take our technology and fly off with it. They need something to defend themselves with. Give them the freaking A-10s. Look up A-10 Warthog. Look at what they do. They're made for taking out tank columns. I don't know of another country. So like I said, if your country's France and you have something, you say, this is better than an A-10, good. Put little sticky notes over your switches, and you can translate them into Russian or Ukrainian, either way. Stick them on there and let them come train and give them a quick dirty lesson and slap them on the tail and let them go. Fill them up with fuel, tell them where, I mean, seriously, maybe put an advisor with them, whatever, a wingman, whatever you got to do. But the tanks have got to be stopped. So it's death and destruction on a scale that, you know, they're all gathering around one child that died. They have no idea what's fixing to happen when they rally those tanks and when they get them moving. So right now, I think they're partially, the ones that know what's going on, maybe have an inkling of it anyway, are like, well, I don't know, there was an old movie. I'll tell you this. There was a movie where these guys were hippies, and they were American soldiers, and they were acting like they were broke down, and they took their tank all apart and took parts of it, made it look like they were all worn out from battle, laid down and everything in the grass, and nobody bothered them, and they're just sitting out the war at that point, and they had a bigger pipe on the end of their tank to make it look like they had a bigger barrel, and it was a bigger round, so it scared off the enemy and this kind of stuff. It was really kind of funny. It was comical. I think that's what Russia's doing right now. Some of their guys are out there, hey, well, I don't know, man, I'm out of fuel. I don't know, man. Listen, when that all stops, yeah, those tanks have to be taken out. It is what it is. Or they all need to defect. Tell them, take trees and shave them down and shove them in the barrels, turn them around and face them toward Russia, and we'll all play Red Rover. You know, defectors welcome. Other than that, and there is a lot of defection, there is a lot of that, and surrendering, and that's what they need to do. For the generals on the ground, somebody has to stop the killing of your soldiers. Those are your guys. That will be your legacy. Nobody wants to be the leader of a column of tanks that will later be called the Charge of the Heavy Brigade. Nobody wants to be the leader of the Charge of the Heavy Brigade, because if you live through it, that means that you snuck out of the battle like a coward. If you died in it, it just means you were taken along, right along for the ride with the rest of the idiots. I don't believe these are McNamara's morons. I don't believe that these are unintelligent people. I do know that they're coming from anywhere but Moscow, so the word don't get back to parents from anywhere around Moscow that there's a war going on. And I do believe that they are new, they're green, yes, they're soldiers, but they are not battle hardened. They don't have a clue what's going on, and they're being led to their death. Or if they're lucky, they're shot up, busted up, and they're explaining how they didn't know why they were there. That's all I got for you people. I mean, there's a lot more to this, and I'll get into more things in a different video, but for right now, I can put this out there because it's not going to change anything. The outcome of all outcomes, the eventuality of it all will not be changed by anything I've said here. Everyone already knows it now in the world. These people are stalled out of fuel, don't know where they're going. They haven't been given orders, because then at that point they'd have to accept their orders and do it, even if it killed them. So I think that the orders are being stalled. There's a lot going on right now. There's a lot going on with it right now, but the world already knows it. They need A-10s or something similar. That's the only thing that's going to keep the battle where the tide is moving in the same direction. So if you want to make a comment on here, go ahead, make a comment on here. I'm not sure what that means there, Gunner Sharp. I have to read here. Gunner Rent. Okay, but you're welcome here. And you might, if you could, share this with Russian-speaking people so they can get the word back, so they can understand that their people are at war right now and they don't even know it. But the whole world knows it. And the whole world's going to watch the charge of the Heavy Brigade, where they charge into their own deaths. And there's no sense in it. And those are their brothers. They're Slavs. Russia is killing Slavs. That's all they need to know. Russia is killing Slavic people in Ukraine. And they're going after Kyiv. Those people don't even know where they're going. They're on the road to death. I'm gonna get off this thing. God bless you, people. Share this video with some Russian-speaking people. Maybe the word will get back that, hey, there is a war going on. We've been lied to, and our fellow countrymen, our children, are being led to slaughter. For what? For what? Ukraine is not any threat. They're peaceful. They just want to be sovereign, and they don't want to be Russia's puppet. That's it. So Russia's fixing to be broke. And by the way, I wouldn't say get rid of the bottles of vodka or pour them out. I think we need to mail them to Ukraine so they can use them as Molotov cocktails. That's where I'm at on that. I think it's a waste of vodka. They could put a little bit of oil in it so they can see where they're burning. Or they could just throw a regular gasoline Molotov and then follow it up with those alcohol ones just for good measure. It burns invisibly. If you don't know what alcohol will do, you can't see it, but you're burning. That would spread that fire. And they wouldn't see you throwing it because it wouldn't be flamed up. It would just be more fuel on the fire. It's called throwing fuel on the fire. People, I'm gonna get off this thing. And I hope that you're not attacked by armored column, and I hope that all the ones that are after you, that God will make them blind and make the horses blind and make the riders confounded, just like in Zechariah. I'm so glad they used the letter Z, because even the devil's got to tell the truth sometime. I'm out. Peace.